Hello everyone and welcome to the Hello Online. Right, Boots put me off. You can't hear Boots, but Boots is currently talking. Boots put me off. Okay, I'm gonna start again. Oh, it's not really. Jebro Online, yeah, that's it. Like, still can't hear you, I'm sorry. It's not really. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the LightBringers podcast with myself, Jebro, Unity, and no other people because they're all fired. Welcome to this episode. I just realised that I have not done the cameras at all.
Jebro!
We were here for 20 minutes!
I've been advertising the podcast. We can still
Spent so
talk
much time
about
with the
stuff.
Hello Kitty panels, you forgot to even put our cameras into the slots.
That's the thing. I got a bit distracted with the Hello Kitty lore that Boots was talking about because I was so invested. So, you know. What?
My goodness. Well,
I'm just doing it now. It's fine. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to be talking about Skiffs and Kaineng City today. We do have an amazing set of guests. It doesn't mean I can't produce the show while I'm still doing things. You know, I'm literally the king of doing 20 million things at once. Hello. It's fine. Yes, so we're going to be talking about that. We've got some amazing guests. They're going to introduce themselves while I do their cameras. Which doesn't take too long. Oh yeah, Boots is not Zandri. That's cool. All right. Boom.
or so you think.
There we go.
April Fools!
Kind of done it. Okay,
Can we talk now?
Rook, hello. How are you doing? Please introduce yourself to the stream because no one knows who you are, and we need to know.
Hey everybody, it's really nice to be here for the first time ever talking about one of my favorite games, Hello Kitty Online. My name is Rook, and you can find me on Twitch and YouTube mostly, Rookery, R-O-O-K-U-R-I. You can also find me on Twitter, Rookery_, and you can find me on Instagram at Rooker.
You could find her in Arborstone as well.
You can find me in game 2 in the Kestrel archives. Now.
It's true. What is that noise? It's like a...
It was so ominous.
that's the city of Chicago providing an auditory landscape of tension.
I was like,
us.
I'm not ready to go yet. My blood pact is not finished.
Yes, I am in game now. I have an NPC, which is, I don't even know what to say about it. I feel very embarrassed even talking about it, but so excited, but I don't even know. It's amazing.
You can talk about it.
Oh, I know. I don't have words. It's just awesome.
Well, not
so cool.
yet, but maybe soon your character will have words.
Yeah, maybe they'll add dialogue and then I'll know how I feel about it. No,
Exactly.
I feel amazing. I mean, it's really cool. Thank you, fam. Yeah, it's been so cool seeing people even take pictures with the character. And if you stop by and say hello on the second floor of Arborstone, definitely feel free to send me a screenshot because I've been saving them all and I treasure them. And I just can't say thank you enough to ArenaNet. It was such an incredible thing. And I am truly just incredibly speechless and humbled, and it's amazing.
Good.
So
I'm glad.
thanks, Jebro. Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad
so
too.
good.
Yeah,
I mean, you are doing that, aren't you?
I know you pointed
Even
it out.
does it.
Was that because
The,
is that
one
something
brow.
that you talk about on your stream, or is it because we talked about it here? Because we talked about it here for a long time.
It's an idle human female animation.
It is. It is.
That's true, actually. It's just funny that it was just like, oh wow, yes, that really is right. I was like, okay, awesome. Yeah, that's
It's
great.
hard.
Art imitates life.
That's true. True.
Yeah.
That is very true. Okay. Everyone. Hello.
I'm very pensive. That's
Hello.
yeah.
Ooh, pensive.
Hello.
Mm.
Pensive. But the truth is that I'm just thinking really intensely about Snargle Goldclaw's entire body of work.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
it's
that's
just
really
entire
I'm
body.
glad you added the of word. So I was just telling Rook before this that I'm gonna start shipping her with different in-game characters as well. And Snargle's pretty close, so like maybe I could like assume that they're having furtive glances towards each other, you know?
Do it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Do it.
You say
Yeah.
furtive?
Mhm.
Furtive.
Oh, I thought
Furtive.
you said furtive. I was like, that was very good.
Well done. Well
Good job.
done.
You didn't even mean
I'm
to do
very
that.
down for this. I love this.
Amazing. So in the first intro, I've already worked out a Rook's storyline is in Guild Wars 2, or the beginning at least.
This is canon.
Kroof, good to have you here. How are you doing? Tell us all the things.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy to announce that I finally got syphilis. Syphilis is not only
Hey!
just a hobby, it is a passion of mine, and I'm just so happy. You know, I could have gone to the
What it
doctor
does.
and got
That's what it does.
medication, but you know, I really know that I'll probably
God.
get it soon anyways, so I might as well just kind of, you know, harvest it, and you know, like a greenhouse. But thank you so much for inviting me back. I am super happy to be here. I do a bunch of YouTube stuff. A bunch of builds are coming out. Boots, you're not the only person who makes bad builds. I
I'm
just don't have
definitely
the
not.
marketing. I also stream here on Twitch throughout the week. So thank you so much for having me here. Appreciate it.
Kroof, please don't harvest your syphilis like it's a harvesting node, please.
This is
I
truly
beg of
my
you.
harvest temple.
Makes me wonder what you think syphilis is.
Oh
a
god.
fun feeling.
Oh god. Boots.
Oh, what? Yeah, sorry.
Tell us all the things.
Um,
How you doing, mate? It's good to have you back as well.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Yeah, I've been busy, but I am happy to be back and surrounded by you wonderful people.
Awesome.
I've been playing EOD, and I am currently trying to edit a build video.
Okay.
And that should be, you know, happening soon. But I am not as prolific or the quality of my videos are not quite as good as a lot of other ones out there. But at least they have branding.
True.
I'm
Exactly.
sorry. Boots videos are quality, and I love them. So I'm just
Oh,
gonna
thanks,
put
Rook.
that out there. You're welcome.
Thanks.
I
thought-
will.
But hold on a second. We're talking about skiffs today, not fishing, right? Because I was just fishing there.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I take it back. I take it back.
Well, we're going to talk about
Quality.
skiffs. We can talk about fishing on skiffs. That's fine. That works.
I would like to also talk about. Okay, did you know that Hello Kitty's real name is Kitty White, and she was born in the suburbs of London, England, on November 1st.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Oh, this is part of my
This
heritage.
is official lore. Her height is described as 5 apples, while her weight is only 3 apples, which is kind of alarming if you ask me.
Wait a minute. This makes complete sense as to why we would do this as a show, as a game. The apples.
Oh, the
Makes
apples.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's my story.
We should play apples to apples one day.
That would be fun.
I actually have no idea what that is. So.
Oh, check.
Apples to Apples is a great game. It's like what's it called? Cards Against Humanity, but clean.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh. Let's play Cards Against Humanity, to be fair.
I mean, we could do that. Yeah, that's true. You know, we were trying to keep the podcast clean, minus
No.
Kroof syphilis, but
There's no. There is no. Oh, God. I have no guidance this week. The document doesn't exist, so I'm lost.
Never die.
Okay, so this week, because let's talk about we can talk about April first, I guess, for a second as well. I haven't actually been in game yet, so I'm assuming the cats have returned on April
cats?
Fool's Day. The big, massive cats. No cats.
what? Jebro, no! I'm sad for you. I'm sad that you don't
I know
know
the
what's
dogs
going
are
on.
there.
Although I do think
I know the dogs
there
are
is
there.
still a massive cat somewhere.
There probably is that you can still see with the tonic. They usually do that, but
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
this
yeah.
year's is the dogs. It's Dog's Arch. Sorry, is what I've been calling it. Dog's Arch is now Lion's Arch, and you can go pet them and love them. And there's a mystical, beautiful puppo in there, and they give you doggy bags with treats.
I
in it.
saved the mystical Papo for last. I was like, okay, this is gonna be an epic storyline quest that I'm about to do, and then it's just chill out, man. Chill.
Oh, you can buy the tonic.
Lay
Oh, but
down.
like last year they were just there. They were just everywhere. But you can see them all the time with the tonic. Okay, right, I get you. So they just kind of turn them on, I guess. That sounds weird, turning on a massive giant cat. But yeah, cool. So go and pet the dogs. Dogs, awesome.
Can we unpack the?
No, we're getting out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, sure. We won't dive into exactly what that look on Group's face was for.
What were you
I got
talking
a
about?
one-way flight. I got a flight out of here. We're not unpacking. Let's go.
We're not
Yeah,
unpacking
alright.
what do you want to unpack?
Nothing.
Let's say that Groove, I think, thought something that was Cards Against Humanity level of inappropriateness for this podcast. So don't worry about it, Jebro. Continue.
To be
Let's
honest,
talk
I'm
about-
not surprised. Truth
What's
is
that
awful.
supposed to be?
I mean, what?
That's
Wow.
why I should not turn on my face cam. I really should just be a voice in the void.
No, that would rob us of so much joy. And for anybody that's just pure audio, just go at some point and just watch Group's face on the podcast. It gives me great joy. It's like a journey you take, you know? It's pretty amazing.
True. Go and watch. Go and look at the podcast. The notes. Actually, we could read a few things off there. There's actually
Okay,
some
yeah, I can
funny
do that.
stuff.
The character's first appearance on an item was a vinyl coin purse in Japan, which ended up being the
Wait, what's
hottest selling
that?
item
What are you
that
reading?
year, which came as a surprise to everyone.
You're reading like the complete wrong thing. The patch
what?
notes. April
Jebro,
1st.
you told us that today we were doing a Hello Kitty online podcast.
Oh, okay. I was lying. It's April the 1st.
I
Jebro,
got a
we-
whole cake and I decorated it with fondant and it's a
Did
Hello
you?
Kitty cake.
I don't even
Yeah,
know
we
what fondant is. Can you tell me?
Fondant is inedible icing that's really hard that everyone
Did you
like,
just say
like-
inedible?
if you eat it.
Yeah, you eat fondant. You eat fondant.
No.
Yeah, you eat fondant. You think they're just putting fondant on all these cakes so that you never eat the cakes?
Okay, just because you can put it in your mouth and spawn does not mean you should. Okay.
Wow, some
And that
really
brings us
can
back
someone
to
clip
Jebro's original
that?
point.
Some excellent advice there from Truth. Just because you can put it in your mouth doesn't mean you should swallow it. So
I mean, how
thank
do
you very
think
much.
Proof got that syphilis?
It is not good, in my opinion. Nevertheless, the cake has been thrown in the trash.
Guild Wars 2 used to retweet this show. I've got a feeling that may not happen anymore.
Hey, this was an April Fool's joke, right?
Wait, what one?
April Fools.
Yeah, because oh fuck, you know it's too late. I brought the tone down too much before making the cake is a lie
The
joke.
tone
and now
was
it's just-
very
it's
low
way-
before the
it's
show
way
even
too
started.
late now.
There was a
Alright, well,
certain
I mean,
expectation
look,
level.
We prepared, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm pretty sure the rest of us prepared for hours on this Hello Kitty topic. So, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed, but if we have to read the April Fool's patch notes for Guild Wars 2 Jeb, then I guess we can. So,
We don't have to. I would say everyone pick out a favorite from there if you want to.
All right, here we go.
We don't have to read
Shintaro
the whole thing.
Tsuji, the founder of Sanrio, began selling rubber sandals
No
with
boots, no.
flowers painted on them.
That's still Hello Kitty.
But Tsuji noted that the profits gained by adding a cute
No one cares
design
about
to
them.
the sandals and hired a cartoon made a lot more profit. So he hired a cartoonist to design cute characters. And actually, it was only like 12 years later that Hello Kitty first appeared on one of these sandals.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Engineer.
I love it.
Oh dear. There is some actually some great notes on there. Is there anything? My favorite one was this one. So on the patch notes, if you don't know, every year ArenaNet make up a bunch of patch notes for April 1st, and they have a little bit of a fun time with them. And one of my favorites was players can now get a turtle egg by really wanting one and promising to take good care of it. That was really good.
That's pretty. That's accurate, though, isn't it?
I mean, you can get one. You can't ask for it though, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, that
I
was pretty
really
good.
enjoyed the World Polish. Players will not be required to submit an authorization of access
Yes.
form to the Ministry of Transit before using a waypoint to, from, or within Canton regions. Because I just recently went to the DMV to update my licenses and all that stuff. And it was actually really great. I had a lovely time. I felt very blessed.
Yeah, you're definitely lying about that.
I wish I was.
Oh, it was actually okay.
It was great. I had an appointment. Yeah, I had to like wait outside a little bit, but it was fine, and it was
I've
very
got to go
easy.
there
I
in
brought
2024.
everything.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Make an appointment is important. You get through faster.
I don't know which I find more unbelievable. Us doing an entire podcast on Hello Kitty Online or Kroof having a fun time at the occasion.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
But
know.
I just like talking to people.
I like the new options for victory conditions in World versus World has been added. In addition to the war score, players can also win skirmishes through science, culture, or diplomacy scores. And I've been playing a lot of Civ 6, so
Oh, nice.
that hits home.
Okay.
That hits home.
Nice.
as a Guardian main, I do really appreciate with the end of Dragons, users of the Dragon Hunter specialization have been retired. Selecting Dragon Hunter will now unlock a relaxing new set of skills, allowing the player to immerse themselves into life as a retiree.
Very nice.
I almost said that one too, but I was like, I wonder if Brooke is gonna do it. I'm so glad you did.
Trying to see
I wondered if it was going to be
your.
your pick too. We were on the same wavelength. I do also really like the Elementalist one, which was the Ministry of Public Safety would like to firmly remind all Elementalists who refuse to switch off a fire attunement that arson is classed as a felony under Imperial law. I like that one too.
I actually really like the personal story one where it says NPCs will now nudge the commander and wink when the player encounters foreshadowing, because whenever I play through things, I do that. I like, hey guys, I think this is foreshadowing. I think this is foreshadowing. I like it.
Okay. Some good ones on there. Go and check out the patch notes if you want to go and do that. And you can have a look on Rookery.
There was one last one that's really good.
Okay.
Fixed an item erroneously listed as redacted die. It is now properly available as the final encounter of the Jade Sea open world meta event die.
Isn't that real though? Wasn't there a redacted die for a little
It
bit?
is
still
called
redacted.
Yeah.
Nice.
Redacted. It's a move to have a die around a very spoilery character on patch day. I was like, okay. I wonder if they'll ever update it or just leave it as redacted.
I'm happy with redacted.
Just leave it. Fine. Okay.
They honestly should just rename it the final encounter of the JT Open World Meta Event die now.
Honestly, I would love that.
A bit
iconic.
long-winded, but I get it.
Could you imagine having to delete that? And you have to type it out.
Yes.
That'd be so
Put in a
annoying.
throwaway item that you can't sell. You can only throw it away and have it like 10, 15 words.
And they should give that die like as often as possible in every
Yes.
single rewards bag.
Oh,
Man.
I'd need like
Oh.
more characters just to have them as.
I'd like to
dumps.
say one thing.
Just
about
one
April
thing.
Fools.
That would-
Inside the April Fool's joke stuff, the dog stuff. So you could buy. You haven't done it yet, Jebro. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I hope this is not spoilers.
Fine.
But from some dog traders and one dog trader, quote unquote, there are doggy bags that you could buy with. A lot of it's like stuff that you don't use very often that just kind of gathers in your collections.
Okay.
So like it's a great, sink. Currently a great sink to get rid of some stuff that you never use, like the stuff from Mordremoth, those like little weird. Anyway.
Oh, those things.
Yeah, stuff like that. And you get doggy bags, and you open up the doggy bags, and you get actually some pretty good stuff. So it's
okay.
it's like really good rewards. It's in the middle of Lion's Arch.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And it's only 3 per day. 3 per day per person per dog.
Okay.
But you get really good rewards. But on top of that, you get these doggy bags. You could get 9 a day of the doggy bags, and then when you double click on them, you get 2 more doggy bags from the doggy bag you got. So in all, you get 18 doggy bags. But I just thought it was a joke in itself, where it was bags inside bags. So
It is cute.
And then when you open up those doggy bags, you get more chests and stuff that pop into your inventory as well. Very good. I like
I
it a
enjoy
lot.
this. This is good.
It's
More
super
loot is
cute.
always good. Awesome.
And I mean, obviously, we also had like the unexpected bonus gift this week with long cat that happened, which was like the April Fool's precursor. It's so
Do you think they
good.
were meant to do? I had a little bit of a theory about this. I thought, do you think that was in like?
No.
Do you think that was going to come
No.
with April Fool? Why not?
No.
Did you not see?
It was
Do you
not
not remember?
intentional.
Okay. But do you not remember Bobblehead? And do you not also remember the aeroplane noise thing?
Those are yes, those are intentional.
Well, it was
Like,
the same.
well, of course they
those
were.
came out on April Fools. They
But,
came
like,
out on April Fools, and they
it could
weren't
have
something
been
that
a
came out
mistake.
before April Fools, and then were fixed the day before April
Wow.
Fools.
Boots is not any fun, everyone.
You're
This is
right.
not
You're
fair.
But
right.
technically, the airplane, the T-pose was before April.
Yes.
You
You
just
cut out
cut
the
out.
end
You
for
just
me.
cut.
Okay, great. I was loading in the game because I'm going to Lion's Arch. So they
Thank you,
did
Griff.
eventually put it in.
Why does everyone get to play and I don't?
Actually,
This
I'm
is
gonna
not
go do that
fair.
for now.
I'm gonna also log in, and I think I'm probably gonna go hang out with the dogs in Lion's Arch.
Yeah.
I just
While we're
wanna
all
go.
logging in, could I talk a little bit more about Hello Kitty?
Yeah, please give us some more
No,
facts. 'cause
we're gonna go and actually talk about Ender
thrive.
Dragons. That's what we're gonna do. Jesus. Well, actually, if you want to go and hang out with the Lightbringers peeps in Lion's Arch, go do that. I will be still here on my own.
Oh,
does that mean we have to, like, all meet up in game or something? I mean, I guess
Well,
we
you should
can.
represent the
Oh.
guild first, and then you should go there for sure and do some recruiting in the
Wow.
map chat.
We have a
Jebro,
guild,
is
though,
this
yeah.
going to be a guild that you have to have 24/7 representation on your
Only during the
characters?
Lightbringers podcast.
I will say this though. I will say this though. The Guild, the Lightbringers. It's a great name for a guild, the Lightbringers.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
But the tag, I understand that it's for Tybalt, and
Yeah.
it's very, it's touching.
Yes.
But for tags in general, I like tags that I could just say, like, whoa, or
Yeah. No. That's
like
true.
smack.
Most of those
the
are
Tybalt,
taken.
It's a tabula.
It was gonna be light, but that's taken. It was gonna be many ones. We went for a while. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, Tybalt's pretty good.
Yeah. So what we're
We
doing?
could have done like Apple, APLL. Apple.
At Apla.
And we could do that. Oh yeah, update on the Lightbringers Guild as well, as because I am just massively busy and everyone's doing loads of things and End of Dragons come out. We've been running some events. We did strikes last week. We did some of the new ones. Kroof was there as well, which is very, very awesome. We did 2 out of the 4. Well, I think we one-shotted one as well. And then the last one was just like, oh wow, this is ridiculous and awesome. It was a lot of fun. We're also running guild missions this week. So if you want to go over to the Discord, we've got 2 awesome people who are running those. It's going to be about 6 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to go and join in with the guild missions, I'm not sure how many people want to do those anymore, but we're just going to do them. We're going to see if we can build the guild. We're going to take the guild hall as well very soon. Yes, as well. So we'll start organizing that stuff.
I'll help.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. What with guild missions? Are you an expert in guild missions?
No, I'll help with retaking the.
Yeah, I haven't taken it yet, actually. So it's going to be exciting.
Yes,
Yes.
we should do that. It's a fun
get to
encounter.
Well,
Can we
actually,
do that, and then like once we do it, everybody comes over and takes the World of Enders Guild Hall right afterwards because I need people to help me.
well, I was going to
I'm
say,
down, I'm down.
why don't we do Lightbringers Guild Hall during the Lightbringers show?
Ooh, that'd be a good
And
time.
we can talk about
I
it
love
as we do it.
this. Mm-hmm.
Like a Lightbringers plays?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we can
Let's
do
do
that.
it right now. We don't need to talk about skips.
I want to talk about Skiffs. Skiffs are like my favorite. I love Skiffs. And also, I forgot, like, I had a little, I tweeted something about this the other day. I'll talk about it in a minute. But anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about Ender Dragons because we haven't really talked about Ender Dragons yet. This is episode
Finally.
3. Last week we talked about, Boots wasn't here, but we talked about
Oh
the
no!
patch. What?
I'm talking to the dog traders again, and it's not 3 bags per day. It's 3 bags per dog. You only ever get 9 bags.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Redacted. Like complete misinformation from Boots there.
That's
Good
why
lord.
that's why they don't show up anymore. That's why it's such good rewards because you don't get to do it every day.
There's a new pirate ship skiff and it's only in the Black Lion chest. Oh, I'm not sure.
We talk about that.
That
Yeah,
is
go
is
for
that a
it.
real thing? Is there
Okay.
a screenshot of this anywhere so I can put it up on the screen? Can someone?
Someone
seen this, yeah.
has to, because it is okay.
Is it good?
I am perplexed as to how that is not outright purchasable on the gem store. It is so good.
Wait, what is it? Where do you get it?
It's a chance and a
Face. I've got 25 keys at the moment. I'm gonna try and get that maybe.
It's
Sorry, I was looking at Hello Kitty facts.
it's
Continue.
a skiff that you can only get at random from Black Lion chests.
Oh my god.
But it is so like edgy and Corsair-like, and it has its overall art aesthetic is a bit more serious than maybe other things that we get that's earnable, and it actually has an animation attached to it. When you like anchor, the flaps they fold up, and it's so good.
So does that mean I'm gonna be doing map completion for the next 2 months to get it?
Probably.
I mean, just do your weekly keys as well. Also, if you did buy, remember they had a key sale very recently, so they're
Wait,
going to
what's
be
the weekly keys?
one.
How do
Weekly
you do
key.
that?
Oh, from doing the human story. The fast route.
Right,
Story
just the
keys.
story. I didn't know that was once per week.
Increments.
Yeah, it's just once per week per account. Because
You
you
get,
used to be able
level
to do it
10,
per character.
40.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can do that as well if you really want to.
I've just
I guess you
unlocked the
could.
achievement dog nap for sitting down in the dog area for a prolonged period of time. I just wanted to update everybody about
my
that.
gosh, I
currently.
need-
And you're extremely well rested now.
Oh, you've got the
Oh,
skiff
so
skin.
they're good.
Okay, let me have a look. I'm just gonna. Thank you, Rita. I'm gonna get that up.
Rook and I are also in game if anyone wants to come around.
Whoa, that thing is cool.
I know, Jebro.
What? Why? Why would you do that? I would eat that thing. I'm going to eat the entire. It would eat it. What? Okay, why is that not working?
Jebro, don't eat boats. Do we have to refer you back to Kruf's statement earlier that just because you can't put something in your mouth doesn't mean you should put something in your mouth?
I mean, we can talk about, the different child's like phases of like just wanting to just like explore the world. And that's what they do. They use their mouth. They eat everything. That's what they do.
So I do want to say one thing before we continue, though.
Sure.
When a front and side drawing of Hello Kitty, then unnamed, was shown to Yuko, to several other people to several other people in the company, including her assistant, they greatly preferred the side view drawing, and then they praised it. And so when Shintaro Tsuji had first seen Hello Kitty, he didn't really have a strong opinion, but he warmed up to the side drawing later on.
I'm glad because I liked the side drawing the best.
I agree.
Griff, you're okay.
Wild!
Oh my God.
This is sensory overload. I'm in game. There's music. Boots is talking about Hello Kitty. We're talking about skiffs. It's April Fools.
There is a lot. That's true. Okay. The skiff does look very good. I actually would. Yeah. Skiffs are awesome, and I'm kind of sad that that's in the Black Lion chest. I don't get why they don't just sell these. I mean, I get the whole like Black Lion chest thing, but they must know. They must have the data that the people will just spend a ton more money. They will earn more money per Black Lion chest for these. I mean, it's how they earn money for the game. They don't have a sub.
I expect that either they're gonna make more money from Black Lion keys because of the skiff, or I think they probably will. I think they will make more money from Black Lion keys because of the skiff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like we pointed out, they did just run that sale on keys, and there are ways to obtain them through the game, right? Like, so it's again one of those things where I kind of feel like, I mean, you can even convert in-game currency, into Gem Shop and then buy yourself keys. So it's one of those things where I feel better about the loot boxes in Guild Wars 2 than I do in generally any other game where like the only option you have is to straight up just pay a ridiculous amount of money for some like really dumb drop. Plus there's like the redundancies then of the different statuettes and stuff that you get, so you can still exchange for certain things that you might want. So
they'll come in there and eventually.
You know what's interesting? I would say personally, there's a weird opinion probably, but personally I think the fact that it's only in the Black Lion chest, even though it's literally just, I mean, you could get it through map completion, so at least there's that.
It's very pirate themed, isn't it?
But even though it's literally just luck to get it,
it's skill.
It feels like it would be more like cool to have it than if you could just buy it straight up at the gem store.
Yeah, but then that's a money thing, isn't it? And then just like, oh, it's a money thing to be cool. That's a problem. I mean, it's not, they've been doing this for so long, it feels weird to just be like, and we're now just going to get upset about this because they've been doing it for ages. People send me Black Lion chests and I bought keys the other day. Sorry?
Is anybody upset about it?
Some people are critiquing it because they want it so much that they're like, we don't want to have the RNG factor of the Black Lion chest being the deciding factor.
Hey, remember when there was
cosmetic?
Yeah.
It's a cosmetic.
Well, remember when there was the mount tickets, and there's that whole backlash because of that. And then eventually they came out with selectable mount ticket for more expensive. So maybe eventually, once we have a lot of skiff options, maybe they'll have a selectable skiff ticket.
Yeah. And I mean, this also came out alongside a lot of other stuff that, like, the past couple weeks has all been direct purchase in Black Lion, right? So we had stuff like the Springer bird mount pack is so cute. They're so funny. I love them. And then we also had the new outfit and cosmetics with the new stuff. I got the.
Of course you did.
They're so good. And then they also did that new outfit, and then they also did a new skiff skin that was just directly it reminded me a lot of like the elves in Lord of the Rings kind of thing, and that one was up. So like they have done a lot of other things. I guess it would make sense that this one might be in something like a Black Lion chest, and so many others have been on sale concurrently. But I mean, yeah, I'm not that upset about it, but I also understand why it can be frustrating for people. Especially when they really want that, or they've been wanting something like that for a really long time.
It's just cool to have like all the different skins. I think it just brings up the topic of just let people earn stuff in the game, you know, right through achievements. Like, don't just give achievement points, give skins, and like, you know, obviously that's time and that costs money, and you need to pay for the game, and you need to pay the stuff, and you need to earn money. Like, that's a thing. But like additional things, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter for now because we're gonna go talk about skiffs specifically. Lovely. Okay, so skiffs. How you get skiffs? You kind of get them in the story, don't you? You kind of buy it from. I bought mine from a vendor. There is no other way.
Yes.
Is there? That's the only way to get it, right?
You do it by completing a heart in Seitang province.
I'm about to bring the footage up right now.
I know, like all of the mounts to begin with, the first mounts.
But this is not actually tied to a story step.
Oh yeah. So you bought it. Oh, that's it. There were two options. I've got it on the screen now. You can buy it with different currency.
Yeah.
And how was that? That's okay. I mean, you know, I thought that was quite good because the fishing was kind of in the story, but you could also unlock it if you just bought a fishing rod.
Weren't you just given it? Yeah, right. But you were.
I know you were given it.
You kind of need to do this first. Wait, can you get to Kantha without doing the first part of the story?
Yeah, technically, if you have a guild hall, you can just
teleport
go
a friend,
to the
I
guild
guess.
I see.
You've got it. Maybe.
Yeah. Or if you have the Arborstone like portal device, you can use that on other characters to like come over.
Right.
Yeah, I liked the skiff. I mean, I think it's one of those things where as players we intuitively have an idea that like, oh, we might have to look for certain areas, hearts, events, stuff like that. It was something where I liked that they tied the fishing rod itself into like the story beat so that you get it one way or another. And they kind of prompt you a little bit towards like, oh, and there's this, you know, skiff thing, you know, in tandem with the fishing pole. But I do wonder if like players or new players had any confusion with it, as in like, how do I unlock it? Like, where does it come from? But it does fall in pattern with like the other mounts and things. And it wasn't hard to acquire, you know? And I think if you explore and you're engaging, again, it's kind of an incentive to doing that and, you know, actually going around the world, which is nice.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I still kind of default to the skimmer whenever I want to go on water.
Yeah.
For solo play, yeah. Though if you do want to fish somewhere and it's out in open waters and you can't like sit
of course.
on land, then you go
it's
on
the only thing you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, they do such a good job with that though, right? I really like that they somehow managed to make it so that honestly, like mounts are still so versatile. flight in and of itself is something that you see like nullify almost any other form of travel in many other games. And so like to create these drawbacks or, you know, these different like traits that some mounts might excel at and others might not. Like, of course, there are mounts like the Sky Scale that you can oftentimes all-purpose use, but like even then there are still times where I want to use other things. So I was really glad that the Skiff, like its pros, right, are that, like you said, Kerf, you can go with a group. You can have this like social element, you can boost, you can go out and fish in open water. I mean, you can even use it in certain events, like with the depth charges. I thought that was really clever to like have that be something that plays into how we engage with like the water.
Oh, Leviathan and stuff, yeah. Like to
and
reduce
then,
damage,
like,
yeah.
The
Increase.
skimmers are much more kind of like the precision all-purpose water vehicle, right? Where like you might not be able to do those specific things, but if it's just you, it's easier to navigate on it. You can go underwater. It's nice.
It's like,
That was like your award ceremony. The music starts to play. You're like, thank you so much.
It really was. We're having a very noisy street day in Chicago, so I apologize, everybody. I apologize.
And especially with the skimmer also having the capability of going underwater, that just adds another layer of, you know, ease with water traversal. But the skiff is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's definitely a different sense of movement. I think it has different controls. And because I play an action camera so much, it is a little difficult to actually maneuver at times. I found that
it defaults to almost more of an action camera setup. It's like when you move, even if you're not in action camera, it just moves wherever your mouse moves. Like it just turns, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Here's the thing too, though. So the skiff at its highest boosts, right? Like if you could boost it crazy with all your people on the thing, it goes faster than a skimmer, correct?
I don't know.
My understanding is it goes faster than a skimmer.
It does. Let's just lie. Anyway, even if it's not the truth, it is now.
The only issue with that though is it's a little bit difficult to control at those speeds. And the water, like the only place in the
Turning
world
circle isn't great.
The only place in the world where the water is like a big expanse of water that you might want to traverse for some reason is like Straits of Devastation. Everywhere else, you know, you have to kind of control where you're going, especially in all the canals in like Kaineng or the little rivers in Saiteng province. And so going that fast on a skiff doesn't really work that well.
Well, do you think they will make maps more
water centric?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe our next one will be like it's just all water. You get there, it's like water as far as the eye can see, one tiny island, and then you discover that there's actually secretly a Largo city underneath the waves, and you have to go down there. And that would be so cool.
I think they will have. I think they will test that because I think ArenaNet being ArenaNet, I think they could do it because they've got mounts a mount that goes on. They've got 2 mounts now that go underwater.
I see there being the only map I see in the future in Kantha being more water centric is the ruins of old Kaineng.
Drowned Kaineng. Oh, there's also another one. The Battle Isles. The Battle Isles.
I don't know about that one though. I don't know if we're gonna get. I mean,
we might not go there, but I think it's like a great map for a lot of.
I would love for the Battle Isles to come back as a ship v ship fighting zone.
Hello?
Look, that actually would be super fun. And if they wanted to continue to evolve the future of what skiffs can do, doing something like that, or even having like some kind of event that pops up that for whatever reason like allows your ships to battle each other in a sense, or like, you know, maybe you're collecting something and like hoarding something on your ships through like fishing, right? Like a bunch of fish that are like special fish. And then if you could sink another ship, it would like toss everybody out and like reset all of their fish to 0 or something. And then you'd all have to like get back in. I think that would be so fun. And it's like the skiff mobility feels very much like roller beetles in that sense, right? Like where the potential speeds are so high, but it almost has that drift element where your momentum carries you so far. I still can't do roller beetles. Some people are so good at them. I'm terrible.
Saiteng province is pretty much the only map where the skiff is very useful, I would say, at the moment.
Underneath the final map, Dragon's End. That's pretty good.
Oh, just for the fishing though.
Just for the fishing, but it's pretty big down there. It's pretty pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. Actually, really like if you've not done that, if you're not like a map completionist like I am first day, like it was like I have to complete maps before I move on to the next map and the story. So I complete the map, and then I got to that map and I was like, how the hell do I get to this POI? And I was like, because I went through the whole thing, I was like, I'm gonna make YouTube videos of just difficult POIs or like vistas and stuff. And there's not that many, I've got like 6. But this was one of them because you have to go all the way to the north side of the map to go under the map to get through these chasms and caves and stuff where the water is to get to this southern POI or finish Dragon's End because you end up going there for different reasons. And it's like, oh my God. This is so cool, and the lighting is just so nice. It's just so nice, and the fishing is good. And there's creatures down there, and there's other bits and bobs. Not gonna spoil everything, but it is pretty damn beautiful. It's actually one of my favorite areas, probably in the expansion, even though it's like very samey. But it's just nice. It's just a cool way of traversing the map.
No, I agree.
It's magical.
Got that level.
I mean, the big thing is that
magical.
I think one of the greatest, it is magical. I just got there for the first time 2 days ago. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I was so enamored, you know? But I think the big thing is that many other games have limited themselves to maps being this like just slice that essentially is like a setting for whatever is happening. And that's not to say that you can't like still set really interesting story on those maps. It's not to say that those maps aren't still impactful in their own way, but Guild Wars 2 has done this thing where they consistently through their mastery systems and then mounts open up new methods of map complexity, map layering, mobility, movement in those maps, exploration, those moments of discovery, right? Like, oh my gosh, I found this thing underneath the map. And if I'm in my skiff or if I'm on my skimmer and I go down there and it's like this magical discovery, you know? So I think the really big thing is that, like, Boots, you bring up a super great point in that I think right now the skimmer's speed is not probably one of the biggest draws to using it. Like, it's there as a potential avenue for them to use as something that for whatever reason could be a tool in constantly expanding the interactivity, the map styles, all that kind of stuff, content they can do. But it's not like something that, in most of our maps as they are currently designed, it's probably going to be the reason you use it. But like, I think it opens up enough potentials, and I think it's fun enough as a collaborative thing. Like, I really love just all sitting on it together and fishing. It just fills me with delight in this way that like, you know what I mean? It's not
I do.
It's emotional.
So before I say what I'm about to say, I was just going to say that I'm going to start with the good thing. The good thing is that for the skiff, I love the fact that it's multiplayer. My wife has gotten back into playing Guild Wars 2. We're going through the story, and I love just being like, hey, hop on. Then we get to go places and stuff. But having said that, I think that the skiff in general fills, so it's important for people who don't have Path of Fire. It's a very important mount for people who don't have Path of Fire. But for people with the skimmer, the skiff, I think really the only thing it is good for is fishing at this point, and that's okay because I think that's okay. I think it's tied to fishing, and I think that's okay. And
it's more of a social thing. I mean, I think I saw a post. I actually just Googled and I was like, I'll let you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like randomly. But I saw a post and someone said like, skiffs are like just a letdown, like a huge letdown. And I was like, they advertise this as a social thing. Like, this is
the same thing with fishing. I mean, they're both social things, and I think that's what people have to wrap their heads around.
Fishing is a little bit more important.
The problem is I'm a loner, so like I can't appreciate that very much. But
I don't play with many people either in game, honestly. I mean, maybe we should be friends, Boots.
I don't know about that.
You don't have. You have you have way too much hair.
It's like we should all play together or something, or like through this LightBringers Guild that we started. I don't know. You know, I mean, I always say to people that like, I mean, everybody's gonna have a different level of social interaction that they even want from games, and there is like no actual right or wrong to this. But I oftentimes do say to people that like sometimes if you're looking to like take advantage of those more social features, it requires like that willingness even on your part to like reach out and start like making an effort to connect and other people to meet you in that place and then, you know, give it a shot. Like, so it is like, of course, I don't think that the skiff is going to necessarily be the thing for everyone currently as it is and how it's used.
Unless
But,
you just
like,
have,
well, yeah.
yeah. If you only have End of Dragons and don't have Path of Fire, it's perfect.
Well, I'm loving this
Yeah.
conversation because why don't we let's get this is the wonderment of not having a document because we do it anyway. But what could you add? I've already got a list in my head of stuff they could add, like to make skiffs more appealing to people if they don't fish, because like you say, like Boots said, you know, if you're not fishing, you know, skiff is kind of just a thing you run around on if you want to.
It's tough to say because
what could you add? Do you think? I mean, come on, this is the LightBringers podcast.
The way it's designed, though, like it's not a combat mat, except you have those death charges, I guess. But
well, they used for Leviathan. Like if I was in the Leviathan fight the other day and there were like 50 skiffs just on top of each other, just like running around, it was so good. It was so good.
Taught me just to stand on the Leviathan.
My go-to answer would be, you have to first expand the water content that you have in the game to then kind of increase the complexity.
But I don't
of these
see that
systems.
happening, though. You know, like I don't see that in particular happening.
A Largos narrative, there could be some more water content. Do I think that should be the focal point? Like everything's water? Probably not. But I would agree that like depth charges could be something, you know, certain events where you have to use that, or maybe even expand upon the system, which might not be a skiff, but kind of like a war boat, where you have like cannons on the side. It holds like 15.
Yeah.
Ooh, I kind of like that name actually.
Back to
Just
the
a
battle
war
isles.
boat. War boat.
A
War boats new
warship.
to Guild Wars 2. Get on your boat and declare war with crew.
Yeah. Just cannons all around.
Cannons to the left of them. Sorry.
Do stuff like that. I don't have any other ideas in terms of.
Oh,
like,
come on, people.
expanding this-
I've got like millions.
Maybe like you
board
can
with you.
attach. You can maybe attach a giant net to your skiff, so as you're riding it, you actually passively collect fish.
Yeah.
Cool.
That would be
I
cool.
like that idea. Like crappier fish.
I mean, I mentioned that like idea of an event or like a PvP mode or something where like, you know, you're collecting something and then you can sink the other ships or things like that, where it even just like dismounts everybody. And then, I mean, I think there's a lot of creative ways to do this. On the other hand, I don't really know if it needs to appeal.
Yeah.
Like the thing is
No,
that I
yeah, it
almost
doesn't have to
never
at all.
use I almost never use my roller beetle. But like if there are
You're a
parts
bad
on the
person.
map where if there are parts on the map that like I can bust through using it, I'll hop on for it. If there are like
You
whenever
almost
I
never use your roller beetle.
I know. I was thinking what Boots would think about that. I mean, I'm already
dude.
like, who are you? And then I'm like,
sorry,
Boots is
dude.
here.
don't like using that.
I thought you said I don't like you.
Roller
Whoa, that's harsh, right?
Roller beetle is life.
You know what, Rook? I just love your April Fool's jokes day. It's so good.
Oh, yeah, it's so funny, this joke I told.
It's so good.
But I mean, the thing is that it opens the door for content that I might want to engage with, right? Like I tried to do the roller beetle races. I will probably go back and try to finish them at some point because I got about halfway through all of them and I wanted the, you know, scarf and the
Rook.
rewards and stuff.
Yeah, I need to do that.
We should hang out and roller beetle race together.
I would love to, Boots.
There you
Look
go.
at you reaching out. We should roller beetle race.
We should roller beetle
Will
race.
you teach me the ways? 'Cause
Lightbringers
I'm
I will
so
teach you the ways.
begins.
I will
so
teach you the
bad.
ways. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I would trust you. Let's do this.
We need a friend sound effect, don't we? Friends.
We do, that'd be good.
Jebro's not invited.
That's okay.
Okay, great.
I ain't got
Perfect.
time.
I was gonna say, and I thought it would be
No one
awesome.
wants me around.
No.
I just talk.
No, so yeah, like I think that if they kind of have its niche, places that you might use it on maps, integrated in some kind of way, fishing and fishing collections, legendary items that, you know, obviously now can be crafted using various materials. So like there are reasons people will use skiffs, and I don't know if they have to be all purpose because like I said, I think they open the door for fun stuff. Now like additional stuff that they could do, you know, people were talking about like making it so that you could build it into more of like a houseboat where like, you know, there'd be like a captain's quarters on it or something, and maybe if you upgraded it to a certain point then you'd get your customizable home instance or something, be like a little boat room. I don't know.
That's pretty far.
I think we talked
That's
about
pretty
that.
far.
Like, that was our idea. I remember a pre-expansion.
We had many
LightBringers
ideas
where
for
we
that.
came up with all these ideas, and this was great. This was houseboat, do the thing. We were talking about the fact that you could have a cannon seat for the turtles means you could probably have cannon seats for boats, and we could do like real pirate ship meta in World versus World.
Arcade, because we were talking about this, and I was talking about Arcade and how well they do their ship combat in that game. It's really good. Like it's.
I have an important question, Jebro. Maybe you can answer this for me.
Oh.
Do you think with the current tech, probably not the way it currently works, but if we could alter it in some way, do you think it'd be possible to do a pirate ship versus pirate ship battle where there's cannons and stuff and you disable ships, but there's also boarding ships involved?
I mean, you can. The only problem is they'd have to alter it because you can only board if you're in a party, right?
I know, exactly. They'd
So
have to
I think-
alter it,
I
but do you
guess-
think it'd be possible to board other people's ships and attack them?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just depends how long it takes to code that, right? I mean, it is. I mean, if you think about it, so in I don't know if you've played Arcade, you should go and play it if you've never played it. Like just for sea combat, like there's a whole. So in Arcade, there is no instanced map other than expansions, I think. So there is sea between islands, and basically you can be a pirate if you want to be a pirate and be in your own faction. And you can build, so building a ship is a big thing. Like building anything in Arcade is huge. And you can build this ship, and there's different levels of ships. But you can take as many people as you want on this ship. But there's different places where you can board. You can glide in Arcade as well. So you can actually glide, as in Guild Wars 2, from ship to ship. So you could launch yourself out of a cannon, like you can in, for example, Sea of Thieves. And you could glide, and it could be, honestly, like, I genuinely would love to see it. I don't say that phrase much because I hate it, but like, I would actually it would be so good. It would be wicked. Can you imagine that? People would love that. It's Guild Wars 2. It's so like casual, fun, friendly. People play fun stuff like that all the time. And if you can earn stuff and have reward tracks, it'd be so good.
I just thought of something. So even if they couldn't implement, right, like, because I was thinking in my head, like, all of that would be cool, but the game really isn't set up for that. And it's not like the skiffs themselves in structure are big enough that boarding them would really be worth something or anything like that. But then I had the thought, what if we did get a map or something like that, right? Where we talked about like the surface being all water, but maybe down below there's some kind of like city or something that is more of an actual landscape that you could like run in, and it'd be like a reversal of our idea of what a map is. But on the upper levels of the water, huge boats like pirate ships and things would sail past. It could be maybe its own meta or something. And then with like new skiff masteries, Jeb, like you were talking about, you could like, if you had the skiffs, you could get to a high enough speed to chase them down, one. Then you could get some kind of new mastery that like you were suggesting would vault you or like the people in your skiff up in the air so that they could get like ejected up onto it and they could glide onto the deck. And then if you were able to like do the fights or the events or like board it and like fight your way down, you could then like in the lower levels get really good loot or like have this meta event. Something like that I think would be more doable in the sense of them not having to completely make skiffs like the size of pirate boats, like, because there's no way that would work. But like if they made it so that the features just adjusted slightly and then they created some kind of map like this, that would be stupidly fun.
I mean, they've already done it as well.
It's so fun.
They've like in the first story instance, they did it. They just did it in the air. Like, you know, they had the Aether Blade pirate ships like all in the air, and like it was like you were literally boarding essentially different ships, like, but with, you know, the power of Aurene jumping you from ship to ship, and it can be just different.
I see in chat Curse saying, I wonder how the turtles would interact with the boats. That would be cool too, because then you could have like a group that would sink their turtles down to the bottom and like fire the cannons up at the bottom of the boat.
And it would actually give you a use for the turtles. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All I want to do now is be shot out of the turtle's cannon and just become a jade projectile That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Would probably break some aspects of the
It's
game.
legitimately one of the best things in Sea of Thieves. It's so fun. Like
You
when
have
you're
the
trying
ape
to.
skill
Oh,
on the mounts that like eject you from your seat. What if that was ground targeted?
oh, that
and
would be
had greater
cool.
range?
That actually
Yeah,
would be
you
very
go
cool.
to a certain direction.
You could glide and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
We're coming up with some good ideas.
It seems like
My
it seems like
goodness.
an
But I would say-
expansion upon the systems of Guild
Yeah.
Wars.
So, but that's a new
Expansion,
thing. That's a
fourth
new thing. That's
expansion.
Yeah,
I do agree though with Rook. I think that skiffs are good or fine the way they are. You know, they are what they are. They don't need to be anything more. They're social mounts, and they're good that way.
And it's like other MMOs, you know, when they advertise a new feature, it doesn't have to be for everyone. Like ESO, I always pour like examples from ESO all the time, but like Antiquities was a very specific addition to their expansion a couple of years ago. If you don't like uncovering treasure, you're not gonna like it. And it's like you can get loads of different stuff through that. And there's there's loads of different games which add little bits and bobs that people aren't gonna like. So there's always gonna be those posters who are like, Skiffs is a letdown. It's supposed to be a major feature, but people like
Has
different
anybody
stuff.
really said that though?
Yeah, there's some posts on the forums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, as with anything, though, I think people will always find something to complain about if they are generally unhappy. Like,
Welcome to
in
life,
some-
everyone.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I
It's
mean,
true.
I'll be honest. I think that these two that we got, so we got obviously fishing and skiffs and the siege turtle. And while yes, they might have more of a social component or be more situational, I think they're super clever and super fun. And like the idea of how do you continue to innovate differences in traversing the same space, it is a huge question that this game has. And really, I believe they've handled it the best that almost any game could, right? There will always be parts where there are redundancies or overlaps, but to create all these mounts that have like their own unique movement, that have their own unique, uses. Even here in End of Dragons, we saw so many different hearts and things that are making use of even old mounts. Like there's one where you're crushing grubs with your Springer. There's one where you're jumping across like the levels on your Raptor in Kaineng. And like they try as much as they can
That's true.
to like continue to tie in these different mobilities into how you navigate the world. And that is such a testament because Lord, I would not want to do it myself. Like I wouldn't want to be like, okay, so we have one that flies and glides, and then we have one that what have we done? Boat
Underground digging.
underground digging. Can we make
A
all new
dwarf
maps?
drill.
I would like to say one thing though.
Let's do it. Sorry.
I would say that I would like an option. I don't know if it exists yet or not, but it didn't exist at the beginning. Keybinds for a skiff in particular and fishing in particular to start those things, to equip those things, rather than having to go and select one or the other.
You can. There's a keybind for fishing. It's J.
Yeah, but it's shared with skiffs and
Okay.
Yeah, so
you know
like, I
keybind
always
that?
have to choose whether or not I want to always be on a fishing mode or on skiff mode and switch between the two if I'm on a skiff and then I want to go fishing. And I'd rather just, because one of the impediments for me to you choosing a skiff over a skimmer, for example, is that extra button or that extra thing I have to do in order to get the skiff out. Because I always have fishing attached instead of skiff attached, and skimmer is just press a button and I'm off. But with skiff, I have to go press down here, right click here, put this down here, and then go.
There's a lot of keybinds in the game already. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I guess. They just not put it in yet. I didn't even check.
I mean, you don't have to make it as a default a new keybind. You could just have it the way it is, and then go into your menu to add a new keybind if you want to.
Yeah.
Even
Is
just
the siege turtle keybind in game yet? Because I had heard that there wasn't a keybind for the siege turtle.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't check.
I haven't checked.
oh yeah, I'm not sure. I know a while
can check
back
right
people
now.
were talking. Yeah, check. I know people were talking about.
You're all in
and
game.
we are all in
Not
game.
anymore.
Where's
No,
this guy?
after the dogs didn't give me bags anymore, I left.
There is a siege turtle
Wow.
keybind. Okay.
Oh, there is.
Rage
Okay.
quit.
But I mean, I know that some fans even made like a version of a wheel for mounts that like you could get. I don't know if it's an add-on. I don't remember exactly. But I've long thought that it would be really beneficial to have some kind of just like choice wheel. So like especially in this kind of
Oh, like
situation
an
now that we
ESO.
have well, yeah, kind of like, now we've got all the mounts, but now we've also got these bonus special things. So having like, if you hit that J, it just brings up that selection wheel, and it's literally the easiest thing ever to just like mouse over very quickly to the thing you want. I mean, it's possible they can't do that because they just don't know how large it's going to grow. So like the idea, but like even if you could choose, like I have 5 slots in my choice wheel, so I assign these 5 mounts I use the most, or I have 5 in my, special bonus.
That's literally
thing,
what they
so
do in ESO. That's literally the same thing, isn't it? It's like you literally do that. You go into your inventory, you select all the different things. So you can put pots, you can put mementos, which are just emotes, and then you can just put whatever you want there. And then you press hold Q, and then you spin around. Just, that would actually just solve it, to be fair. It just would. It
would
just
be really nice.
Or a bar, like it was your, where your skills are. And you just press a hotkey.
Some UI updates, maybe.
Well, I mean, us being able to move the UI would be flipping legendary and like an expansion itself, to be honest, for me. So I would love to do that. Oh well. I'm going to push this a little bit forward because the skiff goes to Kaineng, and I think I do want to talk about some specific things, because one thing I think is there are a couple of things which I think that they could add for skiffs, which would be really easy. And I think some people in the chat have mentioned it. It was one of the first things I thought about, and that was racing. Skiff racing would be very cool. Very basic, obvious thing that we've got in the game already with beetles, etc. Especially if you've got like the boosters and stuff like that, and you could get skin. You could get a different version of like the scarf. What would the scarf be on a skiff? I don't know. Sorry?
Skiff scarf?
A skiff scarf, I guess. Yeah, I mean, why not?
Or a hat.
A hat, yes.
The necromancer, necromancer concept art hat. The fact
that's what the actual art is hidden behind.
Like a polo shirt.
Stuff.
A cute little sailor's outfit.
Yeah.
Like an Afghan, a little polo shirt with a captain's hat. And...
Yeah, I love it. See, to get some skins in there, good idea. Make an adventure if you want, because adventures have all of a sudden completely disappeared.
And then would you tie your sweater around your shoulders, or would you tie it around your waist?
It has to be shoulders.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a little bit more preppy, like kind of jock, isn't it? Like you'd have to be like,
well, if you're sailing, of course you gotta.
Are you a preppy skiffer?
I mean, I would love that advert, to be honest. I think that
pilot.
would actually be a very good one. That was a good voice there, Griff, as well. Okay, so I've got some other ideas, but that's fine. Let's go to Kaineng City. This is the bit. Because I actually we talked about this on a podcast recently about whether or not Thingy fell into the water. Yes.
Yeah. Did you make Navan fall in the water yet?
No, that's not yet. I do it in a minute. I'll do it in a sec. So we get this. So one thing about the skiff that's good, that is, puts it directly into the game and used for everyone, is that it is one of those transition points in the story in End of Dragons. If you have not got to this point in the story, major spoilers, because that is a spoiler. Because I just said it. You get the skiff and you have to transport one of the characters along over to Kaineng. You go through an instance portal. This is the first instance portal we've seen in the water, as far as I remember. Unless someone wants to tell me otherwise. And I actually realized that the story instance was behind the portal, and I had to reverse the skills.
I did the same thing.
Okay, you did. Okay, I feel less silly now.
I think a lot of us did.
But wasn't
I did too.
You did? Okay, good.
I was bringing my wife through the story, having already done the story. And so she just did the same thing as you guys, drove right into the portal, but she got stopped like you guys. But me, being on the skiff with her, went to Kaineng without her. And then she started the instance without me. Anyway, it was a fun story.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I couldn't believe. So I goofed in my first playthrough, which I think we did talk about previously in the Lightbringers, and I dumped her in the water twice during this. And I cracked up because they remember, and there's dialogue tidbits further on in the expansion where people call me out for I don't know, should I get on your boat? I heard that you dump people in the water. And I was like, what?
I'm waiting for it because it's about to happen. It's about to happen.
will treat this as an act of aggression.
I would also say that
That's the one. Careful will treat this as an act of aggression. So
End
good.
of Dragons, End of Dragons has the most kind of like branching little things that are remembered through the story than any other part of Guild Wars 2. I mean, they're not like hugely consequential things, but it's
a nice little touch.
So
Yeah.
It's
a nice
a lot of
little
nice
touch.
little touches.
Choice without inorganically just plastering some prompt to say make a decision. It's like you organically have to decide what you want to do, and then it follows you. Like the one that I remember is the one with Gorik in the cave, and you can either go on ahead or wait for him because Gorik takes so long, and that's a little fun moment.
Yeah, and I loved it because I think that's a really unique answer to the question of like, how do we give our players a sense of agency even if we're telling a linear story? And it gives you more reasons to replay it. I mean, like, obviously the sheer amount of branching possibilities from things like the core game, it gets much, much, much harder to handle stuff like that as you are 3-4 expansions in beyond that, right? Because again, it's like trying to keep track of all of that while also developing the maps and everything. It's something that really like very few no MMOs really have been able to do. Even MMOs that offer you an illusion of choice like ESO, oftentimes the most you get for that is that like NPCs will yell something out at you as you walk past them, and it's like, oh yeah, it's acknowledgement that you completed this. But a lot of the little nuanced choices that you get don't oftentimes have long, they don't come up a ton outside of that, every now and then, but like not really all that much. So for them to do this, where like those little variations in your playthroughs, you can see those little outcomes, you can see the little throughput throughout all of it, is so clever. And I'd love to see them just keep doing that, even in instances like if you save all these people that would have otherwise died, but like you can technically get through it regardless, like seeing how those little dialogue branches would kind of play out through
or
some
like
kind
for
of
achievements or something.
Yeah, like, like if it was tied into some of those where like that run, if you did that achievement, then there'd be a little dialogue later where people remembered that, or I don't know, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's nice, especially if if you're an engineer specifically, and if you're an Asura, there are different things that happen in Heart of Thorns. If you're a Sylvari, obviously, there's different parts of the story where there's different like dialogue. So yeah, I agree. I do like those little touches because it does make you think, ooh, like even just with Plants of Thought in your head, I want to go and play that as a XYZ class, race, whatever. So it's pretty good. So Kaineng, we're on we did Skiffs, but I thought this was a really, really good. Is there anyone who wants to talk more about Skiffs first before we move on?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't really talk about masteries or anything, did we? I mean, we know it's just.
We talked about them as a whole.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So Kaineng, this was really, really good. Coming into Kaineng on the Skiff was awesome. Like this whole view of like. It was like when you came into Seitan Province and there was the camera, right? And it kind of the pan, and then it was like a vista. And I can't remember if they did that in Echo of Wilds. And I can't remember if they did that in the last map either. Did they do it in Echo of Wilds?
Because when you go into Echo of Wilds for the first time, it's Arborstone, and they do the.
Yeah, that's right. But they didn't do that in Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire.
They did for Heart of Thorns a little bit.
First map?
For Auric Basin, when you see Tarir, the Luminant kind of takes you through and is like, this is the civilization of the Exalted.
Interesting. Right. Is that your Exalted
expansion? Yeah. This expansion definitely went to the nth degree in terms of its cinematics and more vistas and just more cutscenes in general, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, they were so good, especially the first one. Like it was just like, damn. I
mean, like we could get double the amount and I would still be so happy. Like, I think that what we got was, honestly, I really love the pacing of the storytelling. And I think especially if you engaged with the open world and you do all the stuff and you do the collections and the side content, there is so much storytelling in this expansion. It is ridiculous. There's so much to discover. And I've seen some people who like blasted through the story and were just like, that's it. And I was like, well, but you have to engage with Guild Wars 2 the way that it tells narrative. Like you have to go through this and explore. And in that sense, I think that these opening cinematics are an incredible nod to that, because when you get to a new zone, to present it in this like beautiful way that you have like dramatic control over, right? I think that it draws people into sort of seeing that place in the way that you've perceived it and like trying to explore it and engage with it as its own kind of like Kaineng City, it just like it lays it out there in a way that you want to engage with it. And I was so blown away when we first set foot. This map still is like, as far as sheer complexity and vertical layers, this is one of the most incredible maps I've ever seen in an MMO. Like the details, the amount of different items, the range from the ruins up to the highest tier of this, it's like unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I spent a lot of time in New Kaineng City, and then I actually went back to Path of Fire, and everything felt so small. It felt like when you grow up and then you go back to like a children's like playground or like those plastic constructions, and you're like, this used to look like massive to me, and now it's a foot tall. It's like very strange. But New Kaineng City was incredible for the amount of assets that they actually put in there, and everything has collision. You can actually go up and see these things and see the detail that was put into them. I really, really enjoyed New Kaineng City, and especially with the opening introduction with the cinematic showing that jade monument. It was like, oh, this is some really nice stuff and really great set pieces for this map.
It is like the whole, and then you think about where you came from, the map you just came from, and then you think about the mini biomes, which we talked about in the first episode of that map with the snowy area, and we got up north. And then the map design is very much similar in all of them, other than maybe Ekervold, although there is, you could argue with the ruins, that's another like mini kind of biome, I suppose. But like, yeah, like for even just walking through it now, like thinking about that first story bit when you first get in, I'm like, damn, this place is immense. Like, and there are like I keep forgetting that it is the same map. I think it was like the first map as well, where I totally forgot the north side where the meta happens. And it was like, that's the same map, that's the same province. And then this map has the ruins and has the jump puzzle up in the top right hand corner, but then it's got the ruins and it's got the underwater part, which has got an awesome bit of story in it, with the vault and other bits and bobs. Where I'm not gonna spoil it. And that's very much the theme of something that you said earlier, Rook, as well. Like the mini stories inside, which I think players could easily miss if they're not explorative in their like just gameplay of an MMORPG, which is, some people aren't. But there's just so many great moments in this map specifically. But this part of the story was very good, and I'm very again spoilery. This is an actual story step that's been shown.
I have seen, and even in chat, there's a lot of discussion about the zone being empty. And I think there's a lot of different layers to this, because there are like parts of that I agree with and parts that I don't. In the sense that, like, okay, as far as sheer number of NPCs on the map, it is something where obviously in this kind of city, and especially when you're thinking about cyberpunk, or you're thinking about Jadepunk as it is here, or you're thinking about, millions of human lives being in a crushing space together in a small amount of territory, right? I think in our minds, we obviously fill in the packed crowds, the hustle and bustle, the sheer amount of people. Unfortunately, just the way that it is in MMOs, you can't do that.
It's just models. Like, you can't do it.
It's like, you can't do that many models, especially when there are big events and things like meta events. There's just so much to deal with. So usually what I look for when I'm really trying to judge if I think a zone is empty or not are the amount of details within a certain area, including inanimate props, right? So the textures, the styles, the looks of booths, the looks of items on the ground, plants, NPCs, yes, other things, the details on the sides of buildings, the overall kind of composition of a space. So for me in that regard, in this zone, I think that it excels. Like, there are so many incredible little prop pieces. There are so many incredible little areas, places, NPC dialogue tidbits that you get. And so I think as players, we have to like realize that within the limits of this medium, an actual metropolis in a game is not something that can be realized in the sense of like cyberpunk, right? Because they have to allow for the amount of player models, the other events and everything else that are happening, combat, all that kind of stuff. So like in that regard, I think we have to cut them some slack, and we have to use our own imaginations to populate what we imagine living in there is like.
Yes.
On the other hand, I do think that compared to some of the other maps, at least from what I've discovered, and I am still going through and doing my own layers of discovery in Kaineng, it did feel like there maybe weren't as many little discoverable things insofar as like we have the cool bonus dungeons in Echo Vault, we have the little map thing, the little 3 boss maze thing in Seitang, we have like, so I don't know if I think there really is like, other than like little fox puzzles, and I mean there are some great areas to discover. I think the tea house is so fun. I really like the like party that's up on one of them that has that ridiculous music. Like there are great areas to discover in the city, but I have this feeling they're going to use it as a setting for more narrative in the future.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah. So I agree with you, Rook. The city itself is ridiculous. It's how big it is compared to all other cities in Tyria, and how like the feel of it hit exactly where I wanted it to feel. Like where it's like slightly cyberpunk, mixing the old with the new, huge and impressive. And I am looking forward to, in season 6, for example, them fleshing out the city even more. More things being done in the city, and then as they go, maybe adding more repeatable things in the city, adding more places to go, and maybe inside some buildings. Who knows? I'm looking forward to them using the city, because right now there's not even like, is there crafting in the city? Crafting zones?
I don't believe there are.
Is there a bank?
No, and that's actually touching on something that I've also wanted.
Is there a trading post?
Arborstone is the main place that will
I
need
understand,
to be
and Arborstone is its own thing. It's a nice place to chill, especially with for a character. But for this city to be a city, I think it needs those things, and I think that. In season 6, I think fleshing out the city even more would be great.
Well, that's the thing. Like, this is technically, it's a city, but it's an active playable map. Like, it's a map. Like, it's an actual like mobs, NPCs and stuff like that. And I think.
Yeah, but we've had crafting and banks and trading posts on active playable maps before.
Where?
The what's it called? The Crystal Oasis. For the bank and the trading post, at least.
There is
that is true.
And they've got crafters there, though?
Not currently, no. I think there's crafters in a different map, though. There's crafters in...
The World v World, I guess, is... no, that's trading post. So
there is a little bit more to Amnoon, but I think this kind of does touch on the whole issue of the map, of it feeling like almost barren. I think if you're not going to populate it with NPCs, you should definitely increase the threshold of the amount of players allowed to play on that map. And I think that's something that has negatively impacted a lot of these expansion maps, is that they have felt very limited in terms of the number of players that can actually participate on one server or one version of the map. I think New Kaineng City is the one map that is the most fitting, of about like I would say 50% to 100% increase to really fulfill
more.
So
I feel like
sense.
More, and you can
even
fit
more.
Those but this is the thing. It's weird. Like when the metas happen, you can get onto those maps, but otherwise, naturally, you do not see many people in those maps. And I wonder if it's because of the sheer. This is something that Rook said in the first episode. The sheer size of, I wonder if the population, is it if everyone is spread out so far, or is it that they don't want to filter people into those maps, other than, you know, when people just do it intentionally for like LFGs for metas. But I've not really noticed that there's been lag when metas happen in Kaineng province, like Kaineng City, to be honest. I mean, it's been pretty good.
And this kind of goes back to what I believe, Rook, what you were saying in terms of I lost what I was going to say, but essentially,
sorry,
I think people increase the amount of players on the map. I think that it is very worthwhile, but also about rewards, about people coming back to the maps and not having really as many things to do in terms of exploration or mini dungeons. This map is very simple. It looks very visually impressive, but in terms of the content that is in it, it really only is the meta event, at least from my experience with the event.
Have you done the advanced weapons achievements yet for the classes? for the elite specs.
Oh, like the elite specs,
For the
specific weapon collections.
so-
The Ascendants. I'm working on them. Yeah.
Well, you will be going back to Kaineng City.
But you go back. But
Oh,
you
yeah.
go back. That's not just for Kaineng. I think that's the
yeah.
issue. It's not
Oh,
just
right,
for
okay. He
Kaineng.
wants
It goes
Kaineng
for
specific.
every single one of those maps. And what Boots was saying, kind of connecting what Rick was saying, with less things to do, and also what Boots you're saying, I think it would be great to see these larger hub-esque systems to at least give a chance for people to be in the map and have a reason to go
Yeah.
back, while also interacting with these meta events. Because if there aren't dungeons, there is a jumping puzzle, but once you do it, you kind of done with it unless it's on a daily rotation. So if there aren't these many dungeons, these explorative like chests to unlock and search for these other side achievements, I think that would be smart for New Kaineng City to maybe utilize those like banks and trading posts.
Yeah, I'm kind of Boots, I think you and I have been thinking the same things about it, because like when you look at the care and detail and all the other stuff, and all the other characters, right? It really feels to me like they maybe went a little bit less on Kaineng City because they are going to use it as something in the future in the story. And I have no idea if that is true, but we do know that at least once we're through Living Season 1, our next Living Season, we're assuming that's what it is, or Saga, or whatever they decide to call it, is going to be set in Cantha. So I have this feeling that going back to the city, and that characters like Rama and Yao may become characters that are going to, again, and there's like little hints throughout the story and stuff that they're going to become characters that may be a part of our like major ensemble moving forward. And so like it was funny to me because when you compare like an Echo Vault, all the bonus collections that unlock with Arborstone, and some of them do take you to Kaineng, but like, you know, the story that we get about Rama, the follow-up stuff we get with Jory, the additional lore as you're like collecting all the books and Stargle Gold Claws thing and all this kind of stuff, right? I would love to see some of the same things in the city, because I really genuinely, truly feel, and everybody will have the different opinions on this, that Kaineng City to me is one of the most memorable, most beautiful, most incredible, most technically detailed MMO maps I've ever seen. Just the range and breadth of the different landscapes they take you between in that city. It is astonishing to me. I compare it to almost any other city hub in any other game, and I'm like, this just knocks them out of the park. Like, it is such an incredible setting. And when you have something like a packed city, it gives you the potential of so many different, very human stories across the breadth of a very varied landscape, right? Like cities are microcosms of culture, like macrocosms, I don't know, but there's so many like little tiny narratives, right? You have the impoverished section, you have the Tengus and like the history of the people and everything that's happened there in their own ward. You have the destroyed ruins of the risen city. You have the technology and the horizon of a new frontier with all of the different power plants. You have the nobility and the upper classes. You have a mixing and mingling of all these different cultures, and now a new threshold as they are integrating into a wider world that they have been closed off from. So
it's a concentration of different cultures, like any city in the world.
So to me, it feels like, I think it's a huge success, honestly. I think it's a beautiful realization, but I think they can fill it with more stories. I think they can fill it with more things, and I hope they do, because it's a great setting, honestly.
It's still different. I still think this is a very different city, because it's not, and like compare it, because I don't feel like it can be compared to anything else in the game currently. Because it's not a city hub technically. It's its own map. It's like an active NPCs, like enemy played map, whereas like Amnoon is a city within that map, which is like, you know, so that not much happens in there. There's some events, but it's not the same. So then, but like I'm always like, when I'm going around Kaineng, I always have to switch and then go to someone else to, you know, get a, you know, something crafted somewhere else, and I would come back because I'm just lazy. But like, so, but I definitely think there should be more of a safe maybe area which might be more specific for the like the crafting benches and stuff. But then it's like, you know, they put them in Arborstone for a reason, and because they really want to highlight Arborstone for that reason. It's clearly because Rookery is there. Sorry, I just wanted to randomly pop that in there. I thought that was funny. But like, I just think it is very unique, and I agree, like it is very, very different way of doing it, and definitely I would like to see more events in there. The Skiff event that's in there is wicked. I love that thing. Like just when you're just wandering around trying to get all these different I can't, is it jade or power cores or something, and you just hand them in and there's all these skiffs everywhere. The meta is great when you get switched between the two different sides of the map, the north and the south. That, and when it leads to the boss, which is awesome. Yao definitely needs to be in the game more because they weren't in it enough.
I love Yao.
And
Yao is so good.
There's so much there, and like you say, you know, I think Kaineng City could be one of those maps like in the core game. Is it Queensdale where we had the tower, the Nightmare Tower? I can't remember. Which map is it? Kessex.
I think it was,
Kessex.
wasn't it? Kessex.
Kessex. I feel like it could be a map like that, which could change over time, like specifically.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, like an invasion, and you have half the map, which is like invaded into and all this, because I feel like there's going to be some kind of invasion, especially because there's like all this power stuff going on Kaineng, and it feels like it's very two-sided some of the times, and it's, I don't know, there's a lot they could do there.
I wouldn't mind them changing the meta event, because the meta event right now isn't my favorite in terms of story. It is definitely connected with the tale of the magic cycle and going kind of haywire, but they could do something more interesting, especially because we have the drowned Kaineng up right above it. Maybe there's some undead in the area. That's a really interesting idea. But to quickly a note about the population, I think if they don't want to add these certain systems to maybe incentivize players to come, the meta event, correct me if I'm wrong, tends to take place more so during the night. And I feel like people go to maps when the meta events happen. So perhaps during the day, maybe they could have a phasing where there are many more NPCs going about their days, going about their lives, you know, interacting with each other, and then phase them out at night to kind of just show, like, you know, during the day, the city's very busy. And then at night, when the meta event happens, everyone goes inside because it's scary, and then all the players come on. So they could maybe do something like that.
I would love to have one of those behind-the-scene dev videos about why that is with like Kaineng, and like if you imagine like just being like, yeah, so the way we produce like Kaineng City, we have to reduce the amount of the amount of mobs and players.
You gotta
reduce
the amount of knobs.
So there's so many doors there, and obviously other knobs. You know, if you're British, you understand probably. But yeah, and if you're boots. But yeah, I mean, actually, you know what? When we got to Kaineng and we had. There was quite a lot packed in, actually, because I just paused it on this little moment. I'm going to push us back into the kind of the story, getting into the actual map itself. You got the skiff, and then it was like bang, bang, bang. You got the skiff, you did the story, and then it was like, oh, you've got Jade Bot now. I was like, what? And obviously you need it.
It's just like, here you go.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they push you along through there pretty quick, and then have you return later, which I thought, like, again, almost as though they're using it as this place that like the story comes back to and returns to. And it is funny because, again, I actually think the storytelling that they did was incredibly effective with the time that they had. And I think Guild Wars 2 has always been very conscious about like not overloading people with narrative, because people do, I think, look for a faster pace in this game. So I think it's always been kind of a juggling act for them. Like, what all do we give that's like sit down, watch this, and what do we do that's like active storytelling and like, you know, incentivizes engagement and exploration and combat and all these things that we like to showcase about our game. But I do agree in that I think Kaineng City was one place that I needed about twice the amount of cutscenes. Like, I just needed a little bit more. I needed more establishment of all of the characters, of the ministers that were at play, at June and how she's received in the city and what she has meant to Kaineng, a little bit more about how like the people had like built themselves back up and rebuilt the city, more about Yao, because you do actually get a lot about Yao if you pick little bits.
In the meta,
like if
you get more.
Yeah, like in the meta, if you go to Echo Vault, you actually get additional stuff about Yao as well if you search for it, about like Yao's past in the Jade Brotherhood and things like that.
Oh, cool.
You get some great moments with Rama where like as you go through the city, there are optional talking points where you can like take your skiff with him and like he'll tell you more about his life in the city and what it was like growing up with his father. And like I needed about twice the amount of that to really ground me in like the place, the people, the current age. And it's all there. Again, if you go out and you look and you engage with all the maps and you come back and you do the other metas and you do the other events, the storytelling is there and it's phenomenal. But I would have loved in this portion to have seen more like cinematic storytelling and like moments to really like talk and engage with all the characters, because this is a phenomenal setting. We just need to really be able to immerse ourselves in it.
I 100% agree. I think now that I'm reflecting on it, this map kind of was the map where I settled myself into thinking that this expansion takes place in Cantha, but because we didn't get that establishment of New Kaineng City and the various political strife going on there, I was like, this expansion takes place in Cantha, but doesn't necessarily do it justice in this expansion. Moving forward with the narrative, I kind of predict / really hope that they do hone in on that Canthan political issues with like the ministers and Yao and Rama and how all that is going to come together. Because they did kind of just push pretty quickly into the other maps.
Okay, I thought you were going to say something extra.
Lit.
Actually, funny enough, there's actually like players surrounding me in this actual map. So with Kaineng, you've got again, something that I noticed on all the maps, and we've all noticed, and almost forgot as I keep going through when we talk about these things, is the definite reduction of hearts. Again, there's only 3. Is there 3 hearts?
Yeah. And I have not done them. Well, I did it for the story, but I haven't gone back. I haven't really gone back to do them.
Wow, you really don't like them. I remember when we had this conversation previously.
It's like no, I like hearts, but I think the ones
just not when your map completed.
I'm trying to think what the rewards are.
Well, I mean, in hearts in the previous map, you can buy like fishing gear and stuff. Skins.
I do have to say, this is a really subtle thing, but as we watch like the footage that you have for those who are watching like the video version, one of the things that I really love about this map is the lighting from bottom to top.
Yep.
And like in the different regions, like when you're down here on the docks, there's this like vague smog, this like fog rolling in off the water, this kind of a hazy, it tints everything just like a little bit sepia tone.
Yeah.
It feels old timey.
Sepia tone, but with a bit more green.
Yes. And like, it also was so nostalgic to me because it felt like with factions, when you first arrive in Kaineng, I think you also arrive at the docks, right?
Mm.
I think you like come in at the docks and
and all
in Guild Wars 1. So like it felt very much to me that it almost had this kind of nostalgic element, like they knew it would be like you were coming back again. And a lot of the buildings down in this lower section actually have textures that look more reminiscent of like the original sort of Guild Wars 1 factions. Like if you go up to some of the buildings along the edges, you can see the kind of like splintered wood and the like, it's so cool.
You can see
and
the original rock, right? The original rock and where they've built, and the bridge, it's where the bridges connect to the actual thing, because like, you can see that was original, and then like you say, they've kind of supported the original structure, and then they've got those buildings on top. It's very good.
Yes. And then as you go through the city, the lighting shifts and changes on all the different tiers that you're in. And like those little details also change. And when you go into the like ruined older section, there's a totally different vibe there. It's so like, I just love it, because I do think this map has so much detail.
It's like they haven't got there yet, isn't it? It's almost like they haven't got to those areas yet, or they're haunted so much, or they're taken over so much they can't take those over yet, and they can't rebuild almost to a degree.
I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but that just you talking about that right now, it reminded me of how cool and interesting the lighting is when you first get to Arborstone.
Mention
like,
it's glorious.
It's so good.
It's so gorgeous. It's unbelievable. Like, like the little nuanced details in this expansion and the way that they set the stage is like, sometimes I think they're easy to miss, but like they really, really, really contribute in a gorgeous way. I love it. I think it's really neat. So this city I think has a lot more stories to tell. And I hope that they really do take advantage of that, and that this was like a very specific thing that they did, knowing that they were going to be using the city more in the future and a lot of these characters more in the future. Because I mean, this will sound silly, I always feel like a zone has done its job if I get excited to roleplay there.
I would just exactly. I would just love like a Detective Rama storyline in Kaineng City. Like, it's a big city.
Yeah.
It
That
gets
would be so good. A like film noir-esque. Yes,
exactly.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Yes,
She
yes.
rolled into my office as around 7 p.m.
During the marketing, they were talking about that, and we did get hints of it in End of Dragons, but in my mind, I was creating this elaborate, like, detective's tale of Rama, and, like, especially with the cinematic that we got, it was, like, dark and very misty and green, and had such a nice ambiance, and I was like, I want more of this.
Yeah, so I hope they give it, because I feel as though maybe the element that was supposed to be that was what we discover about, is it Minister Lee? Is that his name?
Yeah, the bad
You know
one.
what I'm talking about? Yeah. So like that felt like that was the detective story, but I think we could have gone whole ham on it. You know what I mean? And like that's where those additional like
Absolutely.
cinematics and like really meeting him that first time that you go to the city and like having Minister Lee present himself in this very specific way. And then you get this like turn later where you realize that like oftentimes the people who are most prejudiced may go about it in the most what's the word I'm looking for? Hidden kind of, you know what I'm trying to say? Like the hidden, yes, that's it.
The Rolodex, you're like looking for the words.
What's the word? I know, I was trying to think. Insidious was the word. They go about it in the most insidious ways, right? That they pose themselves as heroes for some greater cause, but that they themselves are so full of the deepest bias and prejudice and harmful mentalities. So like I would have loved to see a little bit more setup, but again, I think they could totally do that with Living Season, and I'm super pumped about that. I really want to see how they use this like setting.
Mm-hmm.
Another element of New Kaineng, which I really enjoyed, was the different direction for the music. That this area is where we get a lot more of that synthy, distorted vibe to Guild Wars 2
Slums.
that really has not been explored before, and it has a really like it's a very ominous soundtrack for the pieces of this map. And
Can I ask you a question before you go on to with your point? You know that Slums
Yes.
music. You're talking about the Slums
Yes.
song, right? But
A little bit.
Well, a little bit. But I have a little bit of a gripe about this actually, because when you go into the area and the Slums music comes on, I remember specifically Boots was words that they used, and when we were having this conversation, like you were saying, you're very slummy, was it because it was called the Slums?
Yeah, because I'm very eloquent that way.
But like we were talking about like that kind of undead harbinger kind of darker area. Whereas I just think the Slums isn't that dark and isn't that gritty in all
Yeah, we need a little
honesty.
darker.
I was
think
actually
it could have been more of a ward kind of like. Is that what you were gonna say?
I was literally actually going to say it plays this ominous tone, which I like, but sometimes they play it like during the day when it's really bright outside and there isn't much going on.
True.
So I was gonna say
Sorry.
the atmosphere of the music is really, really cool, and I love it by itself. However, I think it needs to just fit a little bit better in the certain districts that it plays in, or the lighting, or like environmental effects. And especially with the slums part, when we got the confirmation that there was a title called The Slums, I was excited to see something akin to Guild Wars 1 Kaineng, where it was a little bit more run down. There were sewers, sewers going everywhere. It was a little bit more mucky and grimy. And all we really got was like, I wouldn't consider old Kaineng to be grimy and mucky. It's just been demolished by a tidal
It just
wave.
looks older and more traditional. In all
That's
honesty.
not very like grimy, or
no.
like there's a lot of like neon signs that are flashing and the power's going out, and there's like trash all over the place and like afflicted and poisonous things.
Or like more Blade Runner-y, which is kind of what I thought it was going to be. Like more dark and dank and kind of like, like you said,
what I want when they introduce the Detective Rama storyline, where you have
yes.
what's his name?
Is it going to be Detective Gorick as well?
Detective. Oh, it's going to be the Friendship Squad. Yeah.
I love that. Sorry.
We're gonna have Detective Rama doing like the Harrison Ford voiceovers, and it's gonna be great.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I do agree. It's tough because it feels like there were almost two dissonant conceptualizations, right? Like the slums and the music piece that we're seeing. In which case, I think, I was talking about the lighting on the docks and stuff. I mean, they could have even set the tone very different there if when you go down to those lower places, they like add way more of that fog effect or something.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, it seems denser, it seems grimier, it seems closer in. Even like tightening the like width of the like roadways and pathways, I think would have helped a lot. As it is, there are some great details down there, like the like paper windows and things. Almost all of them, like the actual paper has been like pushed out. So you have these people whose like entire lives are on display. You have like, you know, they're unable to repair that older feeling of the city, which within a world that, or within a nation that has looked so much to the future and to technology, like I guess living in the remnants of their past could be equivocated to like a different sense of lower class, right? Than those who have access to the shiny and the new, and to technology and jade in abundance. But like, I agree with everybody in that, like, I think it doesn't quite feel committed to on either side. Like if they wanted it to be something where like the people living in the shells of the, you know, the old buildings who couldn't afford to upgrade, that was the equivalent, and that the city itself prides itself on like looking clean and pristine, but it hides behind these buildings those who are impoverished. That is one thing, versus the slums music and that kind of vibe that we got from a lot of stuff, like you were saying, where like we thought it would be really dense, crowded, polluted, toxic, you know, that it would be impoverished people living on top of each other, which is maybe more of a traditional kind of cyberpunk feel and city vibe.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it felt to me like the storytelling there is just a little murky compared to like some of the other areas that I think are so good in Kaineng. The slums don't feel quite like they committed on either side.
Disconnected. It's a little bit disconnected for me. Feels a little bit disconnected.
And I'm looking at the map right now, and I'm trying to like visualize what area is the slums, because everything looks quite
Southeast,
pristine.
Right? I mean,
I
Is it
think the
Southeast?
one area actually is probably Grub Lane, because
that's
that
it.
has a civilization area near the undead.
Yes.
And I think the one, it's just too small, I think, in my opinion, but the one maybe issue is also about the height. Typically, affluent areas have much taller buildings, skyscrapers, and then the more impoverished areas, the slum areas, tend to be a little bit closer to the ground. Grub Lane does succeed on that, but I think as a whole, the entirety of New Kaineng has such verticality that it loses that sense maybe of like differences in the economic classes. It could have maybe been a little bit more distinct in terms of map design for us to get that sense, because it only is in one area.
It is interesting because they seem to almost lump it, which I actually like. I think this is a really good detail. The idea that like verticality of the city is how maybe this city differentiates class. That like if you're living down at the bottom and you imagine that people throw things from the upper tiers or stuff like that, right? As well as like proximity to undead, which is another thing that like those who are living closer to that threat are the people that may be considered more disposable within society. So like from that construction, like that viewpoint, I think they succeeded in the positioning. The area where my trend is, I think falls into what I would consider to be the slums. The Tengu ward, I think technically is supposed to kind of be adjacent to that too. But Kurf, I do agree with you in that, again, it's like if they really wanted to show a disparity of wealth, I would expect some of that to be pushed a little bit further. Or conversely, if they wanted to show a pristine world that hid things behind closed doors, or that, like, again, maybe had other societal prejudices that differentiate classes, I don't know if we get a full, really robust feeling of that from the story, other than maybe some of the dialogue that Rama gives us and like that you get from some of the people that live in those areas. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know for sure.
It's weird though. If you go through it, like the footage now, I actually really like this area. It's actually one of my favorite. Like it's a nice area. Like you've got the waterfall that comes into like the southeast part of the map, which is where the slums are, which is where the heart is for Grub, like around where Grub Lane is. And obviously there's the distinction of there is less jade tech there. There's just less green, right? But there's this big green jade kind of decoration where the waterfall comes in. So there's that. So there's like, they're still included, but there's this area which maybe they haven't even just got yet, or even they're trying. But like, I think like you were all kind of saying as well, there's a little bit of confusion. Like, is this a hidden area, or is this, is this like an actual choice they've made of like hiding the people there away? Is it they haven't got there yet to like, kind of do it up?
I think some of this honestly is just the limitations of an MMO, because like if you look at it, you can see things like the exposed stone, you can see more of the framework, the again like weathered antiquated doors. Like there are touches that make this read Slums.
I
But
like
as
it.
far as
I like the area.
yeah, as far as like ambient trash, garbage, stuff like that, again, like those assets and every single item being rendered within like a square foot of an MMO. Final Fantasy XIV was just actually talking about this and how some of their graphical updates will in the future, within the next couple years, allow them to even add in more textural assets per small area of ground. And the difference that some of those shots made was astonishing. So it's like, there are definitely details here. There are actually some other areas that I like too. There's one, what is the goddess? Melandru? Melandru, she's the nature goddess. There is in one of the alleyways a community garden. And like, I loved that detail, and it's commemorated to Melandru, and like you see these little like plants that people are trying to grow in like the cracks of this city. And I thought that that was like, to me, that was beautiful storytelling in this zone. But I do think, like we've been talking about, this maybe felt like one of the lesser effective environmental storytelling areas. I truly think because of the scale of this map, which again, it's like I don't necessarily want them to have compromised on that, because I think this was a really phenomenal thing. But it does feel like maybe there were some trade-offs that had to be made, and unfortunately we lost a little bit, or that we might be getting more in the future. Because there are details, it's just maybe not quite like, even there you can see there was some like plant growth on one of the rooftops that like has like broken apart the shingles, right? Again, like there are details, it's just that it's maybe not as cluttered or as effective as if the map had been smaller, or they were working in a single player game format. So
I really like this map.
It does feel a little clean in terms of the tiling and the flooring. So they could have maybe done something with that. But to quickly touch on what you were saying, Rook, the little alley with the garden, I would have loved more of that. I wanted to actually see what these people are doing other than just a bunch of fish merchant stalls. I wanted to see gardening. I wanted to see like group exercises or like back alley dealings with the ruffians. But the ruffians are just standing around light posts, just kind of talking, and that's kind of it. So I think the hitting the nail on the head every time. The environmental storytelling was a little bit less effective in this map.
I genuinely love this area. Like you can see on the rock there, you can see like on the actual wall as well, the old coming in from the new, and like how they've kind of still getting. It is great. Like I really, because after a while, like Kaineng, I really like Kaineng. Don't get me wrong, and I love that cyberpunk feel, and I love the different, you know, when you've got the holographic fish in some areas where the way they've used that light is really clever. Like they don't have to, it's projection. I think they could do a lot more with projection actually, specifically, so you can really like show the differences even more so. But I think this is genuinely, I don't know why this is one of my favorite areas in the map. I like that oldie kind of look as well, and the mixture of the new and the old kind of. And just the fact that from there, if you go north, there is just this other complete different area. And actually, if you go west from here into the more rocky kind of side cliff areas as well, there's the houses there. I don't think I go there in this footage specifically, but there's lots of fun stuff down there. And also the meta is just south of where I am on this map here as well, which is really nice. And it's, yeah, I really just like this part of the map. I think it's fantastic how they've still kept it. They've still got that verticality, not as much, because, you know, it's a little bit more flat, as you kind of say, in terms of just like, it's more like verticality on the horizontal, if that makes sense. So it's high here and it's low here. But like in Kaineng, it's like there's a level here, there's a level here, there's a level here. So it's kind of going towards that. But it is. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I can really say about this side of the map. But there is parts of this where it's like you've done for the heart, you have to do the grubs, like you have to squash the grubs with the Springer, which is really cool. But if you've not come back here yet, and this is a little bit of a spoiler. The reason I came back here was to get crows, because you have to jump up and get crows that are flying around in the area for another thing, which I'm not going to spoil that. So I spoiled one thing. But yeah, you have to catch crows. It's kind of fun. So there's always little bits and bobs, and there's some more books around here, and there's some stuff where you can knock on the doors and there's little stories and around in these areas, which I still kind of got to explore a little bit more myself. But I don't know, yeah. Anything else like around the map specifically? There's the what's that tunnel called? The one that Rama talks about, like the love tunnel or something.
Oh, the tunnel of love.
That was kind of funny. Rama's like getting a bit fresh. I was like, hey, Rama, let's go. But yeah, so that was interesting. There's just loads of little bits and bobs in this map where I'm like, this is good times. And then you can fish as well in the map, obviously, as well. I don't know. I'm trying to think about Kaineng City and if there's anything else we could talk about it.
There is, well, first of all, the cobble ward, if you like the cobble ward, there's actually kind of southwest out at sea, there are like these spires with a bunch of houses on top of them, and there's even a hero point there. And just as a little note, I do love that area a lot. It kind of does reference old Kaineng in a way. It kind of strips away that modern aspect. So I like that area. But there also is like this like cool lab reactor place. It's story spoilery, but that's there.
Yeah. Oh, okay, of course. Yeah. In the northwest. Yes. That is wicked.
That's actually huge a part, because it technically, I guess I would still consider that to be a part of
Wait,
Kaineng.
can you access it outside of the story?
No,
Don't think so.
Oh, okay.
but it's close enough. Like
'Cause
you
technically,
take
yeah.
the
Yeah.
tunnel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
can
there's
you
a
take
lot
the
of
tunnel?
cool stuff. I mean, honestly, they could do a lot. We were talking about things they could even put in here. I mean, additional stuff with like Jadebot, where you could be exploring, thinking of that kind of area and like the story mission that has you like flying your Jadebot in through all of the like pipe work and everything and like
Yeah, that's
behind the
fun.
scenes. Like they could do more stuff like that where you were able to like go through apartment wards and stuff and almost eavesdrop or overhear different conversations from various people as you went through or discover the things you were looking for. I honestly do. I think this map is exceptionally beautiful. And I mean, like, gosh, the first time I went up to where the Jade Monument is of obviously our dragon, one of our beautiful dragons, I lost it. I think that area is just so gorgeous. The like ministry building as well, that has all that like glowing jade work in it, like color palettes that they play with. I also really loved the first time that I discovered. Well, this is, I think, good environmental storytelling. You hear so many different groups and people mention about the Red Duck Tea House. And then I was so ecstatic to actually see that there is a location that is the Red Duck Tea House. And as I was exploring, I was like, it's this thing. I've been hearing people talk about this like offhandedly for a ton of time. So I thought that was really cool. And there's like a temple as well. That I discovered as I went up that I just thought was so beautiful. Temple of Preeminence. And there's like these beautiful, like, water, like using water almost as like an entry, like as you pass through like this little like shallow water feature into the temple. And again, I think there are incredible details on this map. And a lot of cool things to discover. I just hope we keep getting like more population, like more stuff here. Not even like population of NPCs, just like more missions and setting and stuff within it to sort of flesh out a lot of these areas. And until then, this map did get me excited to roleplay on it. So I've already had fun breaking down the like areas that are like nobility houses, the areas that are more ministry specific. Like there's a lot of really good stuff in how this city is constructed, and a lot of beautiful areas.
Okay, cool. Okay. Well, I've been thinking maybe we can have even a shorter little episode today of the LightBringers, maybe, if people are okay with that. But what we could do is we could give people a little bit of a bonus and maybe check out some of the April Fool's stuff in game as a little bit of a bonus thing, and go and check out the doggos and stuff if you want.
Yeah, this will be your first time doing it. Let's get Jebro in there.
I'm gonna have to change over the scenes and stuff and go back over to my stream, but it'll be a bit more of a blank kind of. You won't see our faces much because I can't put the game in and our cameras because I've got the cameras on the other PC. So I'm sorry about that.
We're already here waiting for you and the doggos.
Oh, well, it's going to take me a moment. So if you got this far, this has been the LightBringers podcast. We were talking about Kaineng City. We're also talking about fishing. Next week, I think... Do you want to do the guild hall next week?
I'm down.
And then everyone in the stream, and then everyone, if you want to come and join us as well, you're LightBringers Guild peeps. And even if you're not, then you are welcome to join us. We'll talk about it, and we can all sit around inside the guild hall and walk around and see what we think. I've never done it yet, so
we need 200 KP each though if you want to come.